In Psalm 28, David gives us some very good practical advice on how to deal with a certain type of people. As we're getting close to the end of the calendar year, you might be reflecting on different things from this year, good things and difficult things, and some of the difficult things that you might be reflecting on that you might have difficulty letting go of are the people who have made this year difficult for you. There are people who can own us, in a sense. Not that they own us, but they can dominate our thoughts and dominate our feelings in ways that are not good for us, that we're so fixated on them and what they did to us, or what they aren't doing for us, that we lose sight of so many other good things that God has given us. Nobody owns us but God. We were bought at a price. The blood of Jesus purchased us for God. And if we're having trouble resting in everything that God is, everything that God does, everything that God promises, one of the reasons might be because our minds and our thoughts are owned by somebody who's inflicted some kind of pain in our lives. So David had people like that in his life. He describes them in Psalm 28. He said, starting in verse 3, going through verse 5, he calls them wicked. So they just do wicked things, people who do evil, people who speak nicely to their neighbors on the outside, but in the inside their hearts are full of malice. They show no regard for the works of the Lord. They show no regard for what God has done. They don't talk positively about God. They don't talk positively about people who talk positively about God. And they were making life difficult. They were making life difficult. And in the psalm where David is talking about these people who were making his life difficult, not once does he say, and God, give me the right words to say the next time I talk to them, or God, give me good wisdom on exactly how I'm supposed to treat them the next time I'm around them. Instead, he says, God, you deal with them. That's it. He says, God, I don't want to deal with them any longer. You deal with them. Who do you think is able to have a bigger impact on that person's life? You or God? Who do you think knows all the ways to get in deep into their heart? You or God? Who do you think best understands how their conscience became misguided and how that might be undone? You or the God who made them and who's been paying attention to them the whole time? There's a reason why two reasons why. David said, God, I want you to deal with these people who are, in some sense, it seems, owning his thoughts, owning his emotions, maybe. One, because God is more capable of dealing with them, reaching them, changing them, getting to them than we ever will be. It's not to say God can't use us or doesn't use us. He does. But if somebody's having an unhealthy ownership over your thoughts and your emotions, you do have the right to turn that person over to God and entrust them to God and say, God, you can deal with it. David did that. It's biblical. And so that's the first reason it's good, because God is better able to deal with anyone than any of us are. And secondly, if you're handing that person over to God, once you have handed that person over to God, you're no longer carrying them. You're no longer holding them. And you can walk away. Free. From being owned by anything that they did or didn't do. Free to remember that God always has his eyes on you. Free to remember that God did buy you at a price, not to own you and dictate your life to you, but to love you and to care for you and to provide for you and to be gentle with you and kind and compassionate and gracious and generous and forgiving. And you have the right to walk away and enjoy the freedom that Jesus won for you on the cross. The freedom of knowing that God won't let another person get in the way of the good plans He has for you. You can let God carry out those plans. He will. Rest well tonight, my friends.